Hey everyone, it's Pete from Abstract Ocean. We are going to install some ABS covers for the second generation center console cover. We did this video a few months ago. We've had a kind of a recurring issue with some of the installations, so I wanted to specifically show how to avoid that and just do a quick recap of how to install it as well. So here we are with a naked, relatively naked, it's still got bits of crap all over it, center console. You'll see this has been through some abuse as we've been testing different products and so on. So what I'm going to do, I think what's happening is people are getting it under one side, which is great, maybe getting it under the back, which again is kind of difficult because you're sort of fighting with three sides. Let's go ahead and pretend that's how that works. And maybe they're getting a little frustrated at this point and they're trying to get this under here, and then this is what happens. So the edge gets just completely shredded. So as I say, this is very flexible. You know, it's difficult to break it, but metal versus plastic, metal will always win. So what I'm going to do, clear out the shards. Again, that's how not to do it. So now I'm going to install a nice fresh multi-coat red ABS cover and show you the right way to install these pieces. So before we start, this is what you get in the box. Obviously the two covers, I'll show you those in a second. You get an alcohol wipe and you get an adhesion promoter. So what this is, I mean fairly obviously, right, it makes it sticky. So you apply this ahead of time, it just makes a better bonding surface for the adhesive on the back of the ABS covers. It's up to you if you want to use it. I will. I'm going to use it on these leading edges just to make sure they stay stuck down, but I wouldn't say it's essential. And the other thing you'll find in here is a little bottle, a little squirty bottle. We would just provide this. I'm going to use this anyway. It's alcohol spray. It helps you float on one of the pieces. So alcohol, until it evaporates, will defeat the adhesion process of the 3M tape that we use on these things. So it kind of gives you a bit of flexibility when you're installing this top piece, because you need to sort of slide it around into place. So this will come empty. We can't ship alcohol. It just adds so many complications to our shipping process. But of course, if you have it laying around your house, great. You know, other similar things, you know, screen cleaners for your phone or your TV, they all work the same. Essentially, you're just kind of prepping the surface, making sure there's no contaminants on there. So pour whatever you need to do into this if you don't have a spray bottle on hand. But that's the only reason we provide that. So with all that said, let's get our two wipes. We're going to start with the alcohol real quick. You'll see this is our test unit, right? So it's got all kinds of things going on. I have to keep covers on it now. Just unfold this. It's a hot day here in Texas, so sorry about the knees and the flip-flops, but sometimes needs must. So I'm just going to wipe this over, make sure there's no contaminants. There's a reasonable amount of tolerance, I guess, in these covers. It's not like vinyl where any speck of dust will end up showing through, of course, because this is solid plastic. So I'm just going to give this a wipe. Get around here as well. Okay, and that will flash off pretty quickly because it's fairly warm here. And then for the adhesion promoter, you can wear, if you have some gloves at home, the little rubber gloves. If you have sensitive skin, go ahead and just pop one of those on. These are petroleum based, so they're not particularly friendly to your skin. So if you have sensitive skin, take care of that. I'm just going to do a few highlighted sections just to make sure that we've got a decent bonding process. But since I'm always swapping these things out, I actually don't want to make it super permanent. Okay, now the way adhesion promoter works is it should sit for about at least 5 minutes and no more than 20. So while that happens, I guess I can show you a few other things around the car. Let's put the camera out. Other things you may not be aware of. So here are sexy buttons. You'll see one here on the glove box. Just pops it open. Oops, there we go. They look great. There's our little air fresheners as well, lots of scents. Our Jawa phone holder, if I quickly grab the phone, click that on there, you'll see that that charges, so that works great as well. And then kind of continuing the theme, in here we have kind of a messy tray actually, but there's our sliding tray. There is the Jawa USB hub as well. One thing to note, obviously it has two USB-C and an A on top. Since early 2022, Model 3 and Model Y don't have data capabilities on the USB ports in here, so these just provide power if you have a newer 3 or Y. And then back here also another little Jawa tray. This is the little light bar. If I cover up the light sensor, it might come on. Yeah, it's too bright out here, but this is sensor based as well, so it's dark, then this little light bar just comes on, but I can turn it on manually too. Looks like that. It's a very cool little device. Okay, so I think that's enough filler. I'm going to clamp the camera back on. Let's take a look at these covers. Now I'm putting the multi-coat red back on. This is a red Model 3. I love the multi-coat red finish on these covers. So ever since I installed the satin white, which is also great, it matches the seats and so on really well, I've missed this. But let's talk about some pros and cons. As you can see, super shiny, it's beautiful. And just like a red car, it looks stunning when the car is clean and shiny. But this will attract fingerprints and dust and stuff like that, so it requires a little bit more maintenance. Again, you just clean it with an alcohol wipe or screen cleaner, anything like that. But just take a note. And then the other thing to note is that the tolerance on these center consoles varies. Those of you that have been around Tesla for a while will be stunned by that statement, I'm sure. So sometimes you'll get a little rub on top here, which will leave a track down here. It doesn't really show up at all, sorry about the noise, on the satin white, because obviously there's no gloss finish, so it looks fine. But on the gloss, there's a chance you'll see something. Now, I'm kind of giving you the absolute worst case perspective. I had one of these, the red one, installed in my car for maybe 6 months before we put the white one in. I didn't get anything, and this is a late 2020 Model 3, so technically a model year 21, and there's not much of a clearance there, so it's not something that's been an issue for us, but I just wanted to point it out. So in terms of installing these, this bit's easy. Essentially it just drops on, and I'll show you that in a second. This bit is the fiddly bit. It's on, again, we have to tuck it under 3 sides. We don't want to do what you saw me do earlier, where you just kind of rip it past the metal and just crack it, because that's tragic. But you'll see, again, these have a lot of flex, right? There's a lot of play in these things. Just take your time and it'll be easy enough. So we're going to start with this cup holder piece. Move this out of the way just a little bit. So obviously the actual cup holder cutout is your guide here. It should be fairly flush on each side, or it should be flush completely. If you find you have a gap on your trim on one side, just kind of give it a push in. Again, the tolerances on Tesla builders, center console builds are a little variable, but you should have a nice consistent straight line all along the edge. And if you don't, just kind of give everything a squeeze, pull this trim in. All of this trim is held on with clips on each side, so maybe there's a clip that's out or just needs to be reseated a little bit. But once we've done that, we've already prepped it, we've already done the alcohol and the adhesion promoter. I'm going to peel off this and we're just going to place it. I'm going to speed through this bit because this is pretty tedious to watch. Alright, so now that's done. What I'm going to do is get over the top of it just a little bit and just kind of hover over the cup holder and just literally let it just sit down. It's not stuck at the moment. All of the 3M tape is pressure activated, so until you apply pressure, just like on our emblems, it'll take hold, but it certainly won't stick. You'll be able to remove it and lift and drop if you need to. But this looks pretty good. The one line I'm looking at is up here, so run your finger along there, make sure that feels even all the way along, which it is. So now we're just going to apply some pressure. There we go, bring that down. don't think I mentioned this at the beginning, but if you have one of our center or one of our cup holder stabilizers, it's not compatible with this, unfortunately, because this rolls over the edge and kind of adds another couple of millimeters to this. You can't fit it in there. So, but we do have cup holder inserts that do fit perfectly. So that's another option for you. All right, that is the easy bit done. So now we're going to move on to this piece. So as I mentioned, got to get it under 3 sides, so you kind of have to fold it. So what we're going to do, this is a 3M tape. I'm going to peel off this tape. Again, I'll flash forward through that bit, and then we're going to apply just a little bit of alcohol spray to help defeat the adhesive temporarily. As soon as the spray flashes off or evaporates off, this becomes active. So you don't have long, and we're not going to use too much. Alright, so we've taken that off. One thing to note before we go with the installation, the handle here is obviously a point of reference for alignment, and this leading edge here. Just be careful, if you don't get this bit lined up well, it'll cause an edge to lift because it has to sit perfectly over this handle for everything to line up just right. So just pay attention to that when you're installing it. Again, go slower than I am, take your time, there's no rush at all. So I'm going to spray this with alcohol. Just kind of spread it around a little bit. This really doesn't do any harm to anything. And now I'm going to just give it a second. I don't want that much under the adhesive, right? I don't want to trap anything, but you can see it's starting to flash off now. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to get it under this edge. I'm going to get it along the back, and I'm going to get it over here. You can see I can just about slide it around. I'm starting to, let's get that under there. Okay. What I'm going to do is spray a bit more. You've got to move quite quick. You've got to kind of time it just right. We have some alcohol there, but not too much, so let's go again. Same thing, just going to tuck it under those 2 sides. Get it under over here. That's too far over. Let's move that. I want to make sure it's centered. So if you feel some sort of resistance, it's because it's not lined up properly over the handle, which means it's not lined up properly, period. So let's just bring that back over. And there's not a lot to it. There we go. That's better. So I'm feeling along this edge. This all looks good. I'm looking down these edges. These are all good. So now we're just going to push it home. Pay special attention to the handle section. Oops. Because this is where it's going to fight you potentially. Alright, I think that's pretty good. So because we have some alcohol underneath here, come back in an hour or so, or keep the car warm just to help it flash away and evaporate. And then just use a nice microfiber cloth just to clean up, get rid of all the fingerprints. But you can see as that slides in and out, it's not catching on here at all, it's not leaving any marks or anything like that. And overall, I think the multi-coat red is beautiful. If I close this down, this is one of our prototype armrest covers. We do actually sell this colour now. You'll see this is a more pinky red as opposed to a nice deep red like this. You really can't emulate the multi-coat red in a faux leather, but we sell these in red and black now, super popular. Alright, I feel like I've rushed through this a little bit, but hopefully this gives you a better insight as to how to install these ABS center console covers.